Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
What I truly love about her as a psychologist is how she looks at all different demographics, topics, and has a handle on all of it. There are some people that, as counselors, professionals, just focus on one thing. She, from adolescence to family, marriages, relationships, today, we're going to talk about men and their relationships, even their relationships with other guys. How does that look? And she's back with us. Gloria Vanderhorst is on the program. Welcome back. How are you?
I am good and glad to be here. It'll be fun to talk about men.
Yeah, I'm hoping to learn something here, maybe about myself, maybe about my friends. This all started because you got an email and it was in connection with a men's group, correct?
That's right. Of course, I'm writing a book about men. And so I have this friend in Colorado that sent me an email with a link to an article that's talking about men's groups and the explosion in the United States of kind of this need for men to come together with other men to explore their emotional side, not to do fantasy football or talk about baseball, but really to go deeper inside. And then there's another organization that is actually worldwide, bringing men together in small groups to explore what their emotional lives are like and build different kinds of connections, not just the slap you on the back and talk about sports. And then, we could, if you wanted to go sideways a bit, there's also a kind of a counter movement against that as well. But first, I'd like to dig into just the popularity and the need for these men's groups that take men into emotional depths.
I believe, I love it. And I believe, and I've heard about these groups, even every couple of months it comes up, somebody mentions it, they're part of one, or they know somebody who is. I'm thinking that a lot of guys shy away from it because they don't want to open up, especially to other guys. And let's face it, if you're a guy and you got a lot going on, you don't want to get emotional in front of other guys. And
right.
That's going to happen. It could happen.
Right. I mean, that's the way men have been trained for centuries, but for very adaptive reasons, right? So the male is the one that we put out on the front in wars. The male is the one that we send into difficult situations. Even the male is the one in the office, right? When the copier breaks, you go ask the guy to fix it, right? Not the girl that uses it every day. You go ask the guy to fix it. So we have this cultural and long-standing, centuries of experience that the male should not be emotional unless it's aggressive.
I will say this, and tell me your thoughts on it, Gloria. Guys are wired to be fixers. Yes, we fix things, but even if it, can I see your face? Even if it's a relationship, like the guy wants to fix the relationship and move on. Sometimes that's not always practical. What are your thoughts on that? Or
I would say guys are socialized to be fixers.
I was just going to ask that.
You said wired, and the truth is they are not wired to be fixers. We know from infant studies that infants come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression than girls do. So think about that.
And we talked about that last time we got together.
Yes.
Emotional intelligence that males have way more than females.
Right. And so I think these movements for groups like Everyman or the Mankind Project are tapping into that truth and that reality that men want to use their emotional intelligence. They want to express emotions, but we have never made that safe for them to do that in the culture. We now have the freedom, actually, to make that safe. We really don't have to use hundreds of thousands of men in armies anymore. We can destroy somebody with the push of a button.
Mm.
So there's opportunity that didn't exist before for men to dive into their feeling states, to express their feelings, to share their feelings, and to receive comfort from other men rather than comfort from women. The history has been you get comforted by a female, but not by a buddy.
I'm thinking about what we said before in terms of guys being fixers, and I think I am like
Mhm.
that. I don't think it's a social thing. And maybe I'm not like any other guy. I don't know,
Mhm.
but when something isn't working, I need to fix it. I want to fix it. That, in a studio, I wire everything myself. Something goes wrong, I don't call anybody. I'm fixing it. And I think a lot of guys are like that. Now, does that
I,
also
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think a lot of guys are like that, but I would tell you that I'm like that, right? If something is not working, I'm the one who wants to put her nose into it
Mhm.
and figure it out.
Sure.
Our air conditioning went on the fritz the other day, all right? And I'm going around checking all of the breaker switches
Yep.
to make sure that a breaker switch didn't flip off. All right. I'm not sitting and waiting for my husband to do that.
Sure.
I'm up and doing it.
But when it comes to social situations, like, even a relationship that isn't right, there's problems. Maybe more times than not, guys just want to fix it. What's the problem? Let me fix it, move on. But sometimes that doesn't work. It takes
Right.
time to work on it. Where, there's a situation. Guy comes home. Maybe it's been brewing for a while. Let's fix it. We'll move on. What's for dinner? All right, everything's great. I fixed it. It's good. But
Right.
it doesn't work that way. And I think that guys get frustrated and then get shut down because they weren't able to fix it like they normally fix everything else.
I think you're right on target with that. Right. We really have. Maybe it is internal
Hmm.
motivation. Maybe it is socialization, but I think that characterizes the majority of men. They want to give a solution and they're intelligent enough to give a reasonable solution, but they don't want to process the issue. They'd much rather jump to the
Yes.
end than to go through the process of listening to all the parts that go into that issue. They just want to get to the end product. And that's a frustration between males and females because
Yes.
they have very different approaches to problem solving.
Exactly right. I couldn't agree even more because it's the process thing. Guys don't process, and why? Maybe because they don't want to get emotional, even though they really are deep inside. They don't
They
want to show
are.
that part, right?
Hmm.
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 Okay. What about? Well, let's look at. And we're talking about men's groups. Let's look at relationships between men, guys and guys. Um, your first thoughts on that?
Well, the first thing I'm thinking of is that the popularity of these men's groups is based on the fact that they are self-contained. So you join, let's say you join a group through Everyman. Some of them meet online, some of them meet in person, but you're with the same people every time. So you develop a connection, and there's a guide to help everybody go a bit deeper than
Hmm.
just the surface. And so I think the essence of the need that men want to expand themselves emotionally is really being met right now in what I will call these small group systems. it's not happening in the larger population. And in fact, I think some men who disclose that they're participating in any of these groups get made fun of by their local friends, and the
Mm.
guys that are not participating.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, because those guys that may be making fun of the, a colleague, friend, or whatever,
Hmm.
they're probably doing it, but not in an organized situation. For example, let's say a guy is a member of the fire department
Hmm.
and they have lots of gatherings, or I'm going to go down to I'm going to the firehouse
Right,
and hang out a while, with the guys down there. We have to take care of a piece of equipment, have a beer, or whatever. You're getting together anyway. It's kind of the same.
right.
The only difference is maybe we're not sitting in a round table here, or with chairs in a circle talking about our personal issues and getting
Right.
feedback.
Maybe you're not going deeper into
Right.
what has been bothering you, what has been frightening you, kind of those emotions that we take away from men, all
Right.
right? The tenderness of some experience, the fear of some experience. Guys are not supposed to have tears,
Right.
really, right? They're not supposed to be sad. They're supposed to man up. I mean, look at the language that we use.
Mm.
Suck it up, man up. I
Yeah.
mean, all of these pieces of language that say, don't go into that feeling territory. That feeling territory is dangerous, and you will lose your manhood if you go into that feeling territory. When the exact opposite is true. All right. Men become stronger. Men become more complicated. Men become more interesting. Men become more forward thinking when they go deeper into their emotions. And they could
Mm.
get support from each other in ways that you don't get at the firehouse or on the
Yes.
basketball court, because you're not going to disclose the things that are truly personal for you. And you're not going to like this, but I'm thinking of a guy several years ago in a practice who was depressed and not able to disclose to his family, and pretended at home that he was perfectly fine, but was seriously depressed. And one day his family came home and opened the garage door and found him hanging in the garage. And that guy had been in individual therapy with a therapist that I knew, and he'd been there for over a year and never disclosed to his wife and his family that he was depressed or struggling or having any trouble whatsoever. So we train them to hold it inside. It's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea. And I know somebody in the past week who's her ex-husband, but they were great friends. I mean, and
Hmm.
even her fiance was great friends with him.
Right.
Same exact situation. Um, yeah.
Tragic.
And they knew he had some issues here and there, but never thought. I mean, he was, the
Hmm.
guy, life of the party. I never met him, but I heard about him, or we saw the
Right.
pictures.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's exactly what you just said. That's what
In a
happened.
social situation, friendly, open, engaging,
Yeah.
smart,
Yep.
entertaining, the guy that you'd want to know or the guy you'd want to have at a party, but in his internal life, in his personal life, just
Hmm.
tremendous sadness and grief. And
Yeah.
so we train men, we train boys not to share their feelings. And I think that's criminal.
I agree. And forget about guys. Humans in general aren't designed to keep it in.
Right.
Tears are important. That's
Right.
how you
They are
release,
what they are.
it's all, this is a chemical release. There's a lot going on when the tears come out. And, most guys don't want others to see those tears. And the guy could be watching TV and get teary. Has nothing to do
Sure.
with the TV show. It
That's
could have
right.
triggered a memory, thought, whatever.
Right. So there's a really, really old television program um, in which Rosie Greer, do you know who Rosie Greer is? Does
Uh,
anybody out there remember Rosie Greer? Huge football,
Football. Yeah, exactly
huge,
right. Yeah.
huge football player. I mean, the
Yep.
guy was huge.
Yep.
And he sings um, on this program about crying. It's all right to cry. Crying gets the tears out of you. It's just you can find it on YouTube. Just look up
Mm,
Rosie Greer. It's all right to cry. And it's fabulous. And it's
yeah.
exactly what we need to send as a message to little boys, to teenage boys, to adult men, that it is all right to cry. It's healthy.
It's
We're
healthy.
designed to do that in order
Yeah.
to clear out the sadness.
Yeah. And even if it doesn't come to tears, just even being in your car by yourself and just blank and scream. Like just yeah,
Right. That's
whatever,
right.
whatever, it's a purge. Gotta get it out, what, and it could be a sadness, but it's a frustration because you can't
Right.
express the sadness.
Right.
What
And
prompted
you
you?
know, I think right here, I also want to say that I don't think women understand this.
Yeah.
That it isn't just men that have a responsibility here. I think it's women too. I don't think they really understand how important it is for men to have a safe way to express themselves and for the woman to welcome that in relationship with the man that they love. Men should be free, at least in those intimate spaces. Let's start there and
100%.
hold women accountable for accepting and embracing and encouraging that it is all right to cry. If you have something happen at work, maybe you've been called on the carpet for doing something, man, that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
hurts.
That being said, if a guy gets to the point where he's crying about something, and no matter what it is, could be the relationship, could be
Hmm.
a family situation, and he's shedding tears in front of a woman who he's close to, and if she doesn't react, if she
Yeah.
just like this, like,
Hmm. Yep.
how dare you?
Yep.
That's all
Really.
I'm gonna say. It's horrible because, and it's not like he needs to be treated like a baby. It's just to understand, like I understand, what, even if it's a rift between them, he
Right.
finally got to the point of tears. They're real, and
They're definitely real. Hmm.
if she doesn't react, just a horrible situation for the guy. Really
It
is.
is a horrible situation. And, women do that. They would never do that with a girlfriend.
Oh,
All right. They
absolutely.
would never stiff a girlfriend when she was crying, but they'll stiff their husband.
Yep.
And that is absolutely wrong.
And maybe they don't know how to deal with it. Well, that's why we're talking about it. Then
That's what we're
just
talking
show
about.
some empathy. It you
Right.
and listen, you don't have to agree. Let's say something happened in the relationship. Doesn't mean you condone. Maybe he did something, but he's upset over it. React
I mean,
accordingly, and then
yeah, people are human. Males are human. Right? And we're constructed to use tears to release that tension and to release that sadness.
mm,
We're constructed that way. So, don't stop me from doing that. And when I turn the tears on, welcome them, give me comfort, give me understanding, right? So that this sadness can be cleansed out. And then we can go back to problem solving, but don't rebuff me. or send me away.
What brought you to the point, Gloria, of working on a book about men, relationships, emotions?
So the entire kind of history of my work has been started with looking at preschool boys. So there's been a thread of treatment of the male population all throughout my work. And I've finally come to the place where I have the courage to communicate that history to other people. And I think maybe even if you look at it, it is the political situation in this country that has also moved me to communicate that men are real people and they have access to the full range of feelings. And if we don't recognize that and educate them from preschool forward, that we're in serious trouble as a
Hmm.
culture. We can't continue to deny that men have a full range of feeling capability.
It's time. Thank you.
Mhm.
Because it guys have been ignored horribly,
They
um,
have.
gotten a bad rap. They, you know, do you
Mhm.
feel that there's always an exception, but do you feel that most guys are empathetic, caring, emotional? They may not show it, but
Oh,
for the most
I
part,
think that every one of them, the good news about the fact that men come into the world with a broader range of emotional experience and understanding is that they still have access to that. That part of your brain doesn't die off.
oh,
You still have access to it. So at any point in life, no matter how old you are, it's still possible to bring that piece of you back to life again and enrich your life by being able to have access to the full range of feelings.
hmm, it just gets buried, right?
It does. It does.
Hmm.
We bury it intentionally. We bury it culturally. We do that just systematically
Right.
with boys. It's a shame,
And
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 I want that to change.
as you said long ago when we talked, that it started in primitive times where
Right.
the guy had to go out and slay the animal for food. In the cave, the wife is there with the children, and
He can't be smelling the flowers,
right,
right?
exactly.
But now he can, all right? Our culture has advanced to the point where he really can stop and smell the flowers.
Part of it too, I believe, even when guys get together, and they could be friends, it's a there's a pride thing going on there too, where and I do believe that most guys just put on a front. I'm
Hmm.
putting on this show for you. And maybe I'll show a little bit of emotion around other guys, but I got
Hmm.
this is me, and
Right.
it really isn't. It
Right.
really
Well,
isn't.
socially, we encourage that more with men, but I will tell you, women do exactly the same thing.
Fair enough.
All
Yeah.
right. They put on a front just as easily as men put on a front, but the dynamic is different
Yeah.
because we still allow women to go into the deeper, more personal, emotional range, and we accept that from women. We don't accept it from men, except with these groups, obviously, there's a change
Hmm.
afoot, and I welcome that. I encourage that.
Yeah, your book, long time coming. When do you think it'll be totally finished?
I plan to have it finished by the end of this year. And so hopefully early next year, it will be out there for people to read.
Fantastic. Final question on the book, because I'm intrigued. And we've skimmed it a little bit that you were working on that book, but today certainly we are talking about a lot of the challenges that you address in the book. What would you say is your favorite section or chapter in the book for so far?
Actually, I think the dedication, because I've dedicated this to a 3-year-old boy that I
Hmm.
worked with decades ago, who explained very clearly what crying was all about. So he clearly told me that he never cries tears. His tears go inside. He swallows them. They turn into little rocks in his stomach. And then every once in a while, they just explode out of him into fury. He was very animated, demonstrating what
And
happened with his tears.
and very insightful, because he just described what the hell goes on with guys now. and, this,
Yeah,
and this is
yeah,
coming from a 3-year-old.
right. It was
And
real.
Gloria, beautifully illustrating what you said, that boys have more emotional intelligence from the
Right.
beginning. And there
From the very
he's given it
beginning.
to you. He gave it to you right there.
He
Wow.
gave me the whole story.
I usually don't have a lot of time to read books, and I'm sitting on 12 pages in on one. I can't wait to read your book.
Well, great.
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely got to get the word out about that. That is,
I'll send you a copy when it's done.
and I might cry reading it, because I'm going to realize some things that maybe I didn't know.
Yeah.
If somebody is struggling with any of the things we're talking about, whether it's a guy, a woman, whatever,
Mhm.
they reach you just by going to your website, which essentially is your name, right?
Yeah, my website is www.drvanderhorst.com. So it's www.drvanderhorst.com. If you go to that website, go to the bottom of the first page and sign up for my blog. You will get good stuff every month.
You have so much insight, and the proof in that comes from every time we talk before we go on here, and you'll give a little topic idea, a little nugget, and I'm like, I think we could fill a full podcast with that. And I even said, when you said let's talk about men's groups, I'm like, yeah, well, you know what, we want to go a little bit deeper than that, and I was a little worried that could we could just keep going, and
We could.
it happens every time. But that's a testament to your knowledge, your insight, and how good you are at what you do. And
Well, thank you. I enjoy being with you.
I learned so much, Gloria. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.